Hey guys, welcome to Through the Bible Verse by Verse, a plain and simple study through the entire Bible, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse. We are in Genesis chapter 20, and in chapter 19 we saw the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. It wasn't like the worldwide destruction of the flood, but it destroyed a metropolitan area. And Lot was saved because of the righteousness of God. Okay, so now we move on in the travels of Abraham. We're between the year, right, as he's leading up to the birth of Isaac. That's what this, so this is the travels of Abraham here. All right, so let's read. From there, Abraham traveled to the regions of Negev and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While he lived in Gomorrah, Abraham said about his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." So Abimelech, the king of Gomorrah, had Sarah brought to him. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "You are about to die because of the woman you have taken, for she is a married woman." Now Abimelech, I've been pronouncing his name wrong, Abimelech had not approached her, so he said, "Lord, would you destroy would you destroy a nation even though it is innocent? Didn't he himself say to me, 'She is my sister'? And she herself said, 'He is my brother.' I did this with a clear conscience and clean hands." Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and I've also kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I have not let you touch her. Now return this man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, know that you will certainly die, you and all who are yours." Now, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up with this, because this is a very interesting story. One, why is it that Abraham, it seemed like to me, not learning his lesson, right? Why did he not have faith in God that he has to lie? And then think about this. He's giving up his wife. His pregnant wife at that. Maybe she's not showing at this point. But he's giving up his wife, right? In other words, and think about this now. Out of fear for his life, he's going to let his wife, be ravaged by another man, right? In other words, he lied and said she's my sister. So Abimelech was like, "Cool," and he takes her. That's the custom of the time. So had not God intervened, Abraham would have watched his wife being taken from him. But God intervened because this was a covenant. This was a covenant of God. This was a covenant, okay? And God was protecting Abraham despite Abraham. Now, I have to say that this is refreshing, comforting, because sometimes in our imperfection, God still looks out for us. So even though Abraham lied, even though Abraham no doubt lied because of his fear, and not fully, in a sense, trusting God, God still looked out him nonetheless and protected him. So he appears to Abimelech and says, I like another translation I think it's the King James, that says, he appears to Abimelech and says, you're a dead man. Okay? Oh, you're a dead man. Out to the phone. Right? He says, you're a dead man. Because you took another man's life. So think about that. He says, you're a dead man. Right? He goes, whoa, wait a minute. He was like, wait a minute, whoa, 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 God, wait, what? Wait a minute, slow down here. What are you saying? What do you mean? And he says, well, you took it as wife, right? This is a married woman. Oh, wait a minute now. He said, you're going to destroy your whole nation because we're innocent? Did this man say that it was his sister? She herself said it was her sister. God says, yeah, I know. Now, obviously, God also wanted to get his point over to Abimelech, because if you notice, he says to Abimelech, look at verse number 7. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you and for your life. But if you do not return her, know of a certainty you will die. Now the reason why I wanted to bring that up and say that is because now understand that God doesn't say things because he's just kind of like he's saying things. He just doesn't do that. And also, so in other words, the threat, the reason why he's threatening, because he knows your temptation for you not to go. And that's why I think God came so forcefully to Abimelech. First he comes to him, you're a dead man, and then says, you better return him or you're going to die. Because the temptation would be, why should I return him, right? Another thing, notice God calls Abraham a prophet. Now think about that. God calls Abraham a prophet. All right. So he says here, verse 8, early in the morning, Abimelech got up and called all his servants together and personally told them all the things. And the men were terrified, I guess, right? Like, wow, who is this guy now? You know. But it also gives witness to God. Think about that. This gives witness to God. And the reason why I'm saying this is that in the generations to come, it won't be the Gentiles themselves. Now we'll get to later on in the wars with the Philistines. That will be God orchestrated as well, because when they're fighting against the Philistines in the neighboring nations, and then they're getting conquered by them, it's because of their sin. That's another issue. But if you think about this now, the foundation right now is being laid where people are starting, they are realizing, hey, Israel, God is the true God. Israel's God is, hey, this guy don't play, right? What is also interesting, now, and I said I would mention it as we go along, what we also see is the continuum of the sin nature of man. The sin nature of man. How bad it can be. Now this is what I mean right here. God appears to Abimelech and tells him. So first and foremost, God appears to Abimelech. And then God says to him, you're a dead man. So he's acknowledging the Lord, but we don't see him change his ways, change from his gods. And this is what we're gonna see right here. Now it's possible Abimelech himself followed God. But my point is, we're going to see this as we move on. All right. Verse 9 says, then Abimelech called Abraham in and said to him, what have you done to us? How did we sin against you? How did I sin against you that you have brought such enormous guilt on me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done. Verse 10, Abimelech also said to Abraham, why did you intend, excuse me, what did you intend when you did this thing? Abraham replied, I thought that there is no fear of God in this place. Now obviously Abraham was wrong, but notice his fear. Look at the next sentence. They will kill me because of my wife, because she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. Now again, this is what went on back then, okay? And basically the Bible's not condemning or agreeing with it, but just simply reporting the story as it is told. Verse 13. So when God had me wander from my father's house, I said to her, show your loyalty to me wherever we go, and say about me, he is my brother. Then Abimelech took sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and returned his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech looked and said, my land is before you, settle wherever you want. Then verse 16, and he said to Sarah, look, I'm giving you your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. It is a vindication of your honor and to all who are with you. You are fully vindicated. Now I don't know what he means by this. You kind of almost wonder how close he might have came to sleeping with Sarah. We don't know. That's just speculation. But he is saying, hey, I'm backing off right here, right? This is what he's saying. I'm backing off. Verse 17, then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female slave, so they could bear children. For the Lord had completely closed up all the wounds in Abimelech's household on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Now you notice the mention of Abimelech's wife. Of course, they had multiple wives then. It was a man's world back then. What can we say? It was a man's world. It was a sinful man's world. A sinful man's world back then. Again, that's all it is. It was a sinful man's world. And so that's something, and that's what you see right here. But notice too, again, that the Bible said God had closed up Abimelech's wife, the servants. He said the servants, the slaves. Okay, they had closed up the household. Now this is why you see how, in a sense, sternly God is speaking to him. In other words, God is making the point: leave my man alone. So even though Abraham didn't believe, he's like, no, leave my man alone. All right, guys, this is a short one. We're going to pick it up in Genesis chapter 21 in the next study. So I will see you then. All right.